over these many years of telling stories, it's been said that these stories are like links in a chain that has no beginning and no end. But if we look at this chain, we can recognize that it has segments that can be defined. And in doing so, in the beginning of telling these stories, which some will perhaps remember that they were mostly of a Zen or Buddhist nature, with the possibility that those stories could break down, strip away our conditioning and our belief systems related to what enlightenment, spirituality and the rest meant, which brings us to a place where there is the possibility of us coming to recognize another segment of the chain, recognize the three dimensions of existence, that cause and effect, spirit and oneness, or put in other ways, our street smarts, our intuition and our recognition of the interrelatedness of all things. And this state, when they are in alignment and merged, is called Satchitananda, or existence, knowledge and bliss. And in this state, we will perhaps recognize that the next segment of stories was to bring about the possibility of the flowering of those qualities which are available to us when we remain in that state. And that is our divine scientist, our divine physicist, our divine alchemist, and our divine psychologist. And when all of this comes together and we embrace these qualities, it inevitably brings us to where we found ourselves in these last days, with the recognition that we know, and we know that we have the proper authority. But where to now? What happens when we come to this place? We know that just like those other phases and those other segments, that we move on. We move into another level of awareness. But what happens when we are in this place, when we can acknowledge that we know, and we know that we have the proper authority? And that's our exploration with these stories that are being told now. So as we explore this, there is another story about a certain dervish who it was known to possess a vessel, a lamp that could take in light from the daylight, or even a candle, and use that light when it was appropriate to do so. But one day a scholar came to the dervish and said, "It is acknowledged that you have the power of this light, but I cannot believe what it is said of you, that you have the power to read the hearts of men and know their potential." So the dervish said to the scholar, "Will you come with me so that I might demonstrate to you what it is?" And the scholar said, "No." And from that time, the scholar went around town denigrating, maligning, trying to bring down this dervish until word came to the king of this situation. So the king called together the scholar and the dervish, and the king said, it is not proper that one is allowed to go around broadcasting abroad that someone is a charlatan unless they allow proof otherwise, and you have not allowed this to happen. I order that you allow this dervish to demonstrate to you what it is that is meant. So both the dervish and the scholar agreed to this. So to this end, the dervish took the scholar to the top of a mountain, and for 3 days and 3 nights he imparted to the scholar the knowledge of the Sufi way. After 3 days and 3 nights, they came down the mountain to a place which was like a crossroads, a place where travelers, being the only route across the mountain, had to arrive at. And there the king and an entourage waited. So the dervish said to the king, "Allow me to place my hand on the shoulder of this scholar so that he may be attuned to my perceptions." And so doing, as the travelers came around the corner and faced this crossroads, so to speak, the scholar began to recoil in horror, and he verbalized what it was that he was experiencing. "Oh no, look at this man, his face looks to be so innocent, but I feel that his heart is black and his intentions not good." And so it went on. Every traveler on their donkeys, on their horses, with their carts. But as each person arrived, the scholar grew more and more ashen. His black beard and his black hair turned to white as he experienced the inner beings of all those who came past, and he had the entombment of them. In the end, the scholar said, "Enough, enough," and he shook off the hand of the dervish on his shoulder, and he said, "I can take no more." And the king said to him, "What is it you have learned from this?" And the scholar said, "I have learned that everything I see and experience is not what it seems." And so the dervish spoke up and said, "Now you will know why it is that the dervish does not." So in this place where we explore what it is that is there when we acknowledge that we know that we know, and we know that we have the power, the ability, the authority but recognizing that in this place we are naked. We no longer have the barriers of conditioning or beliefs that inured us from seeing, experiencing, recognizing the hearts of existence and their potential. What did the dervish say to the scholar? Now you know. Going back to the beginning of this story, the dervish, with his vessel, which took in light of all forms and could use it as appropriate. Let's see where this leads us in the way of stories as we explore what is there when we know that we know that we have the proper